분명 그대는 나일세 분명 그대는 나일세 나는 미쳐모.
Hello and welcome back. I'm here at Sogang University with Professor Emeritus Dr. Kim Young-Duk, and this is the fifth in our series of lectures about Baekje history and the use of Idu in the ancient records. If you haven't seen our previous videos, I recommend that you scroll back and look at them because especially our first video, we explain a little bit more about what Idu is and how it was used in ancient times before Hangul, or Korean alphabet, was invented. I'm Steve Shields, and am happy to be with Dr. Kim today. A special note today, it's February 28th, 2025, and Dr. Kim's new book on Baekje history has just been published today. It's simply titled Baekje History Understood Through Idu.
Yeah.
And I think this is your fifth
Yeah,
in the
around
series
it.
of books on Baekje history. So today we're going to be talking about the ancient country called Michi, or Michi-hol, and particularly their capital fortress that is now in the environs of Seoul City, but it's referred to as Widesang in history, or what's the name in Korean? We used to do Pung. What is it in most Koreans know that on this
To성.
Tosang. That's
To성
right.
is
Tosang is a dirt or earthen fortress.
yep. Fortress. Probably it's made of mud brick.
Mud bricks. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yep. So Dr. Kim's discovered some interesting facts about that place. And so let's just start talking. You're now saying that we should refer to it as Uri Guru.
Guru is the ancient original name for this Widesang, or present-day 풍납토성.
Tosang.
Yeah.
So how do we get Uri Guru, and what is the time period we're talking about?
You see, this 풍납토성 was made discovery not only too long ago, and found lots of interesting relics. And it's right close to Olympic Park.
The Olympic Park that was built
Yeah.
for the 1988
Right.
Olympics on the southeastern side of the city.
That's right.
Yep.
About 1.5 kilometers to the west
To the-
of this Olympic Park.
Okay.
This Uriguru,
Mm.
or 풍납토성 exists,
Now, many modern people would know that area because it's famous for Lotte World and Lotte Tower. It's that general vicinity of the city that
Probably
we're talking about.
they don't care.
Well, I don't know. But so Uriguru,
Well,
what years are we talking about in its foundation and its use by?
maybe I should give a little talk
Sure.
on this Uriguru first.
Yep, let's do that.
And I had that's strange. Oh, yeah, this
Here's
is the
the
picture
picture.
of Uriguru.
Okay.
And it's a sort of oval shape, and nothing much to see, but the field excavated of last 2 decades or 3 decades ago. And it turned out this, according to carbon dating, this was built from the 2nd century BC.
2nd century BC.
But
So
then,
we're talking 2,200 years ago,
yes.
roughly, yeah.
But then according to Korean Chronicle, Samgusagi, there's people from North Korea, the present-day Manchuria or northeastern part of China, couple of princes, royal family, took a flight to Peninsula.
Okay. So they fled south.
Yeah, BC 18.
Okay.
There's a lapse of almost 2 centuries.
Two centuries, different, yeah.
Somebody must have built it.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's the mystery.
So there's a mystery, yeah.
But anyway, according to this Samgusagi, this 2 princes took a flight somehow with internal,
well, the various political disruptions in the Chinese kingdoms and so on that's gone on, yes.
Well, this one was not the Chinese, but Puyo.
Well, okay, so Puyo would have been a previous,
Anyway,
yeah.
So they are supposed to have come down 18 BC. Must have arrived, this 풍납토성 area.
Yeah.
But according to Chronicle, this elder brother, Piryu, went to Incheon to build his own state called Michohol.
Okay.
But then this Onjo founded another state, Paekje.
Okay.
Supposedly in 풍납토성 or this Uriguru.
Uriguru.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
According to this chronicle.
But it's 200 years off from the carbon dating and the artifacts discovered there.
And according to Korean chronicle. So anyway, that's the beginning. And I was curious and I was studying picture history. So, it so happened in 2015 or so, when I finished my book another book on picture history. I was curious, about what the remains of what I've been talking about. So I went to this city called Sakai, very close, Kansai Airport.
In Japan. Osaka area.
Osaka area.
Yes, okay.
And director of the Sakai Museum was kind enough to invite me to. And so I went there, and he took me around for 10 days, all over in that area. Final day, he showed me this oldest Shinto shrine in that area. It was turned out to be in Sakuraishi or Tendishi, and there was a temple called Omiwa Shrine. But I was rather surprised of hear a god called Omono.
Omono was
shrined in one of the rock crust in the back of the Shinto shrine. And in Chinese character, when read in Ido, it turned out Tamuro. And this Tamuro is so familiar name. And there's, this went on, by this a man called Kim Jong-ho. It's known this place name, favorite place name by this one branch of Paekje people. Went over to Japan in all the days.
Right, and we've talked about some of that in previous videos.
Rather, intrigued. When I returned home, I tried to figure out the connection, the religious connection. It so occurred since I've been claiming this Hanamshi or Kanaguru or Kanadara.
Yeah.
And I was looking for some, connection. It turned out there's a mountain called Komdan San.
Right.
But the former name was Sungsan. And Chinese character, it stands for worship mountain.
Okay.
So I checked the pronunciation of this Chinese character as usual, Ido, and I knew the old name for mountain is called Mari.
Mari.
And the name of mountain, Sungsan, in Ido, turned out Somari. But then I also found there's another mountain called Iseongsan, 2 holy mountain in Chinese character.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out there's again Isomari in Idu.
In Idu. Yeah.
And in Isomari, in Isongsan, there are well preserved remains of the stone altars.
Mm.
Very, it is sort of eight-sided relics.
Okay.
Another one is octagonal.
Yep.
Another one is 12 and 9, so on.
Okay.
4 of them,
Huh.
well preserved.
Wow.
So there was some religious connection, no, to this Shinto shrine's name, but it did turn out Tamuro is another branch, another relatives of affected people.
Mm.
And so it just occurred, since I have a brother who has a villa in Ganghwa.
Mm-hmm.
I go there,
Mm-hmm.
and I know mountain called Marisan. Mani right now, but then used to be called Mari.
Mm-hmm.
So it occurred, maybe there's some connection, huh?
Yep.
So I checked, and I checked again, and eventually I ended up reading some of the writings, record, 3rd century Chinese chronicle of Wei State.
Okay.
And I'm surprised. They talks about the religious, or more or less modern day, what we call shaman tradition. Huh?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very in detail.
Yep.
There's Tengri, who is the priest, offering some ceremony to heavenly God,
Yeah.
and then there was a sanctuary called Sodo in each village, each community, and they had this pillar set up with the drums and bells to call upon the God, or he's showing the arrival of God and so
Right.
on.
Right.
And somewhat in detail, huh? And I just kept reading on. Voila! I found a story about the Senchi. I mean, there were about 5 centuries in southern peninsula.
And the senchi is a head man or chieftain or
It sounds like a sen means strong.
okay.
Chi means personal pronoun.
Pronoun. Mm.
So sound like a strong man.
The
to
strong
me,
man.
huh?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's supposed to be king, huh?
Oh, could be. Yes.
5 kings,
Yep.
huh?
Yep.
And this according to Chinese chronicle,
There we go. Okay.
there was I
Let me make sure we get the bottom of that
I
in the
come to
frame.
happened to read this phrase, It says, Jinwang ruled Mokjigu, and Mokji turned out in Idu reading is identical to Michhol in Korean Chronicle.
Okay.
But the thing is, according to Chronicle, this Michhol set up by the elder brother, Piru, supposed to have perished right away as soon as it's founded.
Mm.
And so this was quite a surprise.
Yeah.
But this is in 3rd century Chronicle.
In the Chinese chronicle
Chinese
rather than
chronicle.
the Korean one.
And then he said, the next phrase is more important.
Okay.
This says, Hokka Uho. Nobody could figure out what Hokka means.
Okay. Mhm.
So he just read as Chinese character as or add something, But then I knew the word, this Hokka stand for the supreme or the top or highest. And I knew the word because I was studying the Inariyama sword inscription.
Right.
There, the similar word shows up as an epithet, honorific expression for
Honorific
the king
for the-
hero. there it says Hokka Kiro.
Kiro. Mm-hmm.
And the Hokka there, it means His Supreme, His Excellency, and so
Yep,
top.
Yep. Yep.
So I
Modern day, we might say, His Majesty or His Supreme Highness or things like that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Hokka or
So
mm,
I knew
mm,
Hokka stand for this supreme or the highest, and Uho is a name
mhm.
or Senchi's name, and the rest in the four of them support him, recommend him as a Jinwang, the
Okay.
rule
Mm,
of the 66 state in Mahan and the Pyonan.
okay.
According to this
According
writing,
to this writing, yeah.
but then in all the translation of this phrases in Korean record, it doesn't make sense
Mm,
because they didn't know the exact meaning of the
right.
Koka.
Right.
Remember, the word Koka still exists. I mean, used in Korean word as best dress, best.
Oh.
Yeah, Koka.
Okay. Ah.
So most people know the word
Okay.
Koka.
Ah.
Still used in 3rd century.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah. Yeah.
in Ido writing, it turned out Koka, Hokka.
Hmm.
But in
Okay.
in Adam sword inscription, it's Hokka.
Hmm.
But in ancient name, Ido really the same.
Yeah.
So they also, this among the 4 strong men, Senchi, Chinchi is the head of Kuya state, and it turned out this is my ancestor.
Oh.
Quite a surprise.
Yes.
But then
yeah.
there's no surname. Kim is then.
Right.
This is quite, I mean, this family acquired this family name Kim around, so probably late 6th century or so,
Mhm,
or
mm,
7th,
mm,
early 7th
mm,
century.
mm.
But then the population of the Kim is almost 10 million.
These days, in
These
modern
days.
times, in that same clan.
But it was a surprise, you know.
Yeah.
It turns out my ancestor. But anyway, back to the story.
Yeah.
This Hokka Uho has a family name U, and Ku is coincide with a king called Kui in Samgusagi. But
Hmm.
there, he's turned out the king of Pekje instead of Michi.
Instead of Michi. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
that was quite a surprise.
So let me just
Yeah.
get the Chinese chronicles, which you
Yeah.
refer to here, were done in the 3rd century
3rd century.
in AD.
Yeah.
The Samguk was 700 years later than that.
1145.
So in the
Yeah.
12th century.
Yeah,
So there's a gap
that's right.
that whoever put all those things together in Samguk either didn't have access to information
That's right.
or for whatever reason, but the gap in time alone and the lack of preserved written records would explain some confusion of the facts. So going to the archaeology, going to the more ancient Chinese records
Yeah.
should give us a more accurate understanding of the
That's what
history.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm struck, you know.
Hmm.
This complete contradicts of what Samgusagi says.
Right. Right.
I mean, Koi was not the king of Pekje, but the king of Michi.
Michi.
Michi didn't go away. He stayed on in
Yeah.
Incheon
Yeah.
for some time. And I just kept on this record in Chinese Chronicle.
Right.
It turns out in 246 AD,
AD.
yeah, this Wei state. I mean,
The Chinese state.
yeah,
Yeah.
were the famous 3 states right after fall of the Han Dynasty.
Right.
And the Wei state attacked Goguryeo,
Okay.
and the capital was sacked. The king fled so far away, and in the meantime, Lolang and Typhoon in Peninsula become the province of this Wei state.
Right.
They attacked the eastern part of peninsula called Dongye area, and they, subdued them, and so on. It was 245, you see. But then 246, it is quite a surprise. In China, Samgusagi says, the Baekje king, Koi, kidnapped some of the people from Lolang
Oh.
because they were in fighting. Very strange. It's obvious this writings in Chinese record is the news of the time.
Right.
And this one is writing in 7th century later.
Yeah.
And I would prefer to believe in the. They were fighting. The
Yeah.
Chinese were fighting, and they just conquered all this Kogyo and Baekje, and was in peace. But then Korean Baekje comes in, kidnap some of them. That's a very other place.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, it's not a belief in the Chinese Chronicle. It's the Chinese Chronicle is older and very likely more accurate.
So if I take that, record in Chinese Chronicle seriously, I'm just writing in Baekje's story. Michuo stayed on to become, the Koi, the king of Michi, not the Baekje. According to what I find, and Baekje kidnapping people from. This sounds so ridiculous now.
Yeah.
Not only that, there's whole writings in Chronicle, the Korean Chronicle, about the Baekje kings, as the Baekje kings, not the Michi. It just turned out very not trustworthy. For example, in Koi's time, there's a hierarchy or the official system of Baekje was recorded, but it turned out there's exact copy of what's written in Tang Chronicle a few centuries later of Baekje, not the Michi.
Right.
So, this is a series of all these records in Seongsa. It turned out very dubious.
Not reliable at all.
Not reliable at all.
Yeah. So, Michi was in Incheon area.
In Incheon.
Until when, do you think?
That's a good question.
Okay.
And as I told you just now, there was in 246, right after 245, when this Wei state waged the war against the Kogyo, and Laolang waged the war against the eastern part of the peninsula. And it's recorded that the Senchi, strong man of Han, was furious. This is 246,
Yep.
Furious because he was asked or demanded to offer 8 of their state to Lolang because it used to be their territory.
Right.
But he got so mad, upset, he waged a war against the Typhoon Lolang people. 246, But then according to this chronicle, they were annihilated. Not a word in Korean Chronicle, of course. They instead stole, kidnapped some of the people in that same year. This is quite a different turn of the story.
Turn of events, yes. Yeah.
But I would believe what Chinese says. And if my belief is correct, after all, this annihilation of the Han people, Han army, headed by this Senchi, Wuho, must have died because the Chinese Korean says it's annihilated.
Okay, yeah.
And it turned out then Korean Chronicle, this Koi lived on until 286, 40 more years. But then he must have, died in that battle because the Chinese Chronicle said annihilated.
They were annihilated, yeah.
So the son Cheke must have taken over. Then, very curious, this Korean Chronicle states that this son of Koi was repairing some of the palaces, the buildings in 풍납토성 or Uriguru, and also some of the defense fortress around the vicinity because they're afraid of invasion from Goguryeo. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, after all, this, according to Chinese Chronicle, there was a war waged by this strong man of Han, and he was killed, and both and the governor of the Chinese province was killed also. And if we believe it, then he must have died there. His son was made the king, and he must have moved his capital from Incheon to Seoul, Uriguru, because some study says he was repairing all this Uriguru, afraid of invasion of Goguryeo. 40 years later. So what I say is, must be wrong. I mean, this was 246 that his son, Cheke, moved his capital from Incheon to Uriguru and stayed on until Kiewang when Kunchogo, the picture, took over in 346. That's my claim and assertion.
Yeah.
So it sounds reasonable to me. Anyway, so the next question would be then, what's the evidence?
Right.
Archaeological evidence.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
So at 풍납토성 or Wiresang or Uriguru, they've done lots of archaeological work.
They've done lots of them.
And so have they discovered tens of thousands of pieces of artifacts?
So there must be some evidence right there.
Yeah.
One evidence was the relics of Jin China, which took over the Wei state, and this what they found was about 30 different pieces of celadon or the pottery of that period. And Koreans like to believe this is the result of trading between Michi Hall and then also to this Jin China, which took over this Wei state. So around late 3rd century, according to this Jin Chronicle, there was 8 trading carried out between this Mahan and the Jin state, not the Michi. So that's the point. And not exactly Michi, but then what I'm suggesting is perhaps we should check dating of this pottery from Jin China.
Well, and they can do analysis of the content, the mineral content of the clay too, and find the source as well. So
anyway, so that's where we stand right now. And thing is, so what's the archaeological evidence? So what I suggest would be the first thing is checking the date of this pottery with some Chinese designer. That's first thought I think of, and I'm trying, but then it's not easy. It's not easy. Some Chinese archaeologists claim this is not the Jin, but West Jin or East Jin, which come later. So there's a controversy. But then what's the other evidences then? Then what I've been proposing is it turns out there was lots of archaeological, exploration was made in Incheon area.
Right.
And then turned out in Unyangdong area, right near on the periphery of Kimpo City,
Okay.
right close to Han River, there was an archaeological site called
Let me
Unyang.
put that up.
Unyangdong area. This the place very close to Han River, on the way to Kangwa Island, or periphery of Kimpo City.
Right.
They've made this excavation of it. One area. They found a cemetery dating from Bronze Age to Joseon period. But then what's interesting is about 35 or so tombs of second, third century. And one of the tombs produced amazing collection of relics, such as
Here we go.
again this glass beads.
Glass beads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then also
We talked about
necklaces,
glass beads and-
necklace,
Yeah.
and then long swords.
Swords.
It's longer than 2 meters,
Oh.
which is worn only by the generals, hierarchy people, supposedly
Mhm.
from Lolang area.
Yeah.
And then also the clinching pieces is finding of this earrings, golden earrings from Puyo.
Hmm.
I told you this Piru people came
Came
down
down
from Puyo area.
Puyo area. Yeah.
So this is evidence that they are from the area.
Yeah.
So I propose this must have been cemetery for the people of Mich people.
Time frame fits.
Yeah. And
The artifacts suggest that.
and all this royal, necklaces, earrings.
Mm.
So that's one of the
Now, help me remember, what was the ancient location of Puyo? It was,
is between Koguryo and Peninsula,
okay.
somewhere.
So up
And
in
in
the
between
northern
there's
parts of
Some central part
yeah.
of Manchuria. What we call-
Manchuria. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
Manchuria would have been
right next to Koguryo.
next to Koguryo. Yeah.
And then also the Wei state.
Right.
So they
Right.
were always
Okay.
fighting between
Mm.
three of them.
Yeah. Mm. Okay.
And so I think it is one good evidence, archaeological. And this was a cemetery for this Michoho people, lasting about until 246, when they moved capital from Incheon to Uriguru, or 풍납토성 of today's
Yeah.
place. It's one strong evidence.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also, next comes, as I told you in the beginning of my lecture about the religious tradition,
Yeah. Is there some picture here we need to
yeah,
find? Yeah.
and lots of pictures
Okay.
of religion. And as I've shown already, there's There's the picture of Marisan with the altar.
Now, where is that
Mari
located?
in Kanghwa Island.
Kanghwa Island.
The
and
highest peak in
the
Kanghwa
highest
Island.
peak in Kanghwa. That's still a very famous
Very famous
worship place.
Tangun is worshipped
Tangun
there
is worshipped there.
annually.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
so that's I believe is the place for Somari. Then there's a mountain called Munaksan in Incheon, and that's called Isomari, I think. And there, more or less, ancestral worship was carried out. Not the holy mountain. It comes in pair. Seems
Yeah.
in Canada, in picture was also in
There's
pair.
one and then two.
Then
yeah.
also in
And
Japan,
Japan.
I mean, built around probably beginning of the 4th century,
Right.
and they still carry the same tradition of Somari, I think, with the native god called the Tamuru and so on.
Mm.
But then also another Shinto shrine nearby called Isono Kami. And Isono Kami, Iso is the shortened form of Isomari again.
Right.
And they worship the founder king of Amici, Huru. It's amazing, really.
Interesting. And kami is the Japanese word for God.
That's actually a Korean word too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We still call terrestrial god Toju Tegam, Kam. Yeah. Kam
Okay.
is the
Okay.
common word
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
god.
Okay. I'm also struck by this idea of sacred mountains.
Yeah.
It's not limited to East Asia.
Oh,
We find in Hebrew history,
yeah.
ancient Israelites,
Right.
they had a holy mountain.
Yeah.
First was Sinai,
Yeah.
where the story is that Moses met God and brought the stone tablets.
Right.
There's the stones again. And then
Yeah.
when they set up in Jerusalem, the place where they built the temple is a holy mountain.
Okay.
So, and that's just one example of ancient cultures where in Babylon they built these tall artificial mountains. We would call them ziggurats in
I
the
see.
ancient language.
Okay.
Egyptians built pyramids.
Oh, yeah.
In,
Pyramid is just
it's a mountain. A pyramid is it's a representation of a stone mountain.
oh, really?
Sure.
I thought it's just a tomb.
Well, they're tombs, but there's that other symbolism of this mountain-shaped sacred place.
Oh, I see.
That's my take on this. So when we talk about Isomari and Somari and Manisan, I'm immediately struck by these other cultures in other parts of the world
Oh,
that have built these high places for worship,
I see.
for
I
the
see.
sacred remains
see.
of the kings or whatever. So I think there's really something in these
That
ancient
reminds
cultures.
me. There's a mountain called Koso-san in Japanese, in northern Kyushu,
Mm-hmm.
which is believed a sacred mountain for Himiko's Yamato kingdom. And in Ido, according to my Ido interpretation, it's Somali again.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And this people who moved on from peninsula to the island carried on to the central part of Honshu in Japan, in temple called, shrine called Omiya Jinja or Isonogami Jingu. They still carry on this tradition of Somali and Somali.
In modern day Korea,
Yeah,
in the shamanistic
yeah.
rituals,
Yes.
are there not mountain gods that are?
Sanshin is all over.
It's
you
all
know.
over, isn't it?
It's all over.
So right, even to the modern times,
Yeah.
and as we know, shamanism has very ancient beginnings. So I think you have come up with a real interesting connection here.
The thing is, in Japanese chronicle, it carries Shindegi, what that they call the God's era.
Mm-hmm.
It carries episodes of God descending from heaven to Shilla Soshimori. Nobody knew, but Soshimori, so is so, Mari is Mari, so Mari again.
Yep.
You see?
Yep.
Nobody knew it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Somali is just again holy mountain
Right.
where the God descend.
Yep. Yeah.
But the thing is, in Nihonshoki it says Shilla, but I think they just place Shilla instead of Imnagara
Probably. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
some
Well,
ideological things. No?
Again, it was so many centuries later, it was easier to refer to a more modern
Because
name, perhaps.
Kime area,
Mm.
Kime
Mhm.
is the home, the ancestral home of the
Of
Kim's
the
family,
Kim.
Kime Kim's family.
Yep, yep.
They have a holy place called Kujibon,
Mhm.
and it turned out a small hill, but then supposed to have this God sent this basket of the eggs born this ancestor of Kim. But
Right.
then anyway, they have this holy
Yeah.
place called Kujibon.
Yep.
In Idu interpretation is Kushi Puri. Kushi is something mysterious, mystical.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That means that
Mhm.
Kud.
Mm-hmm.
Kud is a shaman ritual,
Right.
you know?
Ritual. Yep.
It's related to this
Okay.
Kushi. I think Puri is a hill or
Hill.
peak.
Mm-hmm.
So Kujibon in Chinese character can be interpreted as Kushi Huri.
Yeah.
It's written Japanese chronicle too,
Right.
mentioned.
Now, we've talked about the Japanese chronicle, but just briefly, it's also much older than the Samguk Sagi.
720.
Yeah. So it's
it's earlier.
it's closer
Yeah.
to the times when things were happening.
Yeah.
So we can put some reasonable trust in those
Yeah.
older documents.
Then final evidence, I think, is the spread of place name called Tamuro.
Okay.
According to Kim Song-ho, he's the one who studied thoroughly distribution of
Professor Kim
Song-ho.
Sung-ho.
He's
Okay.
an expert on this ancient history.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he checked all these place names, Tamuro, and
pardon me.
started in here, not only in Peninsula,
Let-
but in Japan also.
Okay, so we have on this map the modern configuration of
Yeah.
the Korean area, north and south both, and then across the strait to
Yeah.
the Japanese.
Yeah.
It's not really the mainland, but
yeah.
the southern island of.
So
Yeah.
all this,
So
Yeah.
Tamuro. I mean, we're right up here. This is right near Seoul.
yeah,
So we're right up here in the Incheon Seoul area with Michi, and then of course
all the way down
all the
to
way
Peninsula
down
to Japan.
and then across
Yeah.
to Japan. Yep.
I think this is one of the strong evidence these people moved on
Mm-hmm.
with
Mhm.
same religion.
Yep.
Still practicing same religion,
Yeah.
but it's more elevated, ritualized, not like Korean shamanism.
That ritualization, we see the same history in Christianity.
Maybe.
It starts as a very simple, faith, and then eventually, we look at the current state of the Catholic Church, and we've got all these rituals that have developed
So,
over time. That's what people
In my
do.
mind,
Yeah.
there's no doubt that the state called Michi existed at Incheon first,
Right.
maybe from the first century on, until 246, they moved to 풍납토성 or 우리구루,
우리구루.
Guiresong,
Mhm.
later on, for centuries stay there.
Yep.
Taken over by Baekje at the end of 346.
346.
I don't know I have an hypothesis how they made it the coup,
Right.
but it comes later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
from then on, this Baekje expanded militarily, took over the whole peninsula almost, except the small sliver of eastern part of
Right.
the peninsula.
Right. Yeah. Baekje was a very powerful state.
From then on,
Yep.
for
Yep.
some time.
For the next 200 or 300
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
So that's the kind of picture I have for
Yeah.
Baekje. But then what I like to state strongly, Michi state stayed on from maybe from 4th century on to 246 in Incheon area. Then 246 to 346 in Seoul area at
Yep.
the 풍납토성
Yep.
or Uriguru.
Yep.
So that's what
Okay.
I
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
propose.
Okay.
It's quite a surprise.
That's
no?
very interesting. Yeah. The as we've talked before, Edu has been one of the keys to
That's what
unlocking
I think. Yeah,
the secrets
yeah,
or the mysteries
That's right.
of Korea's ancient history,
that's right.
where we have an absence or a lack of a lot of written
Yeah,
records.
yeah.
There's many carvings and artifacts that were manufactured, including many that have inscriptions on them. But we find other evidences
That's
in the
right.
Chinese chronicles, in the Japanese chronicles, and so on, and also the artifacts that are being uncovered by archaeologists.
Yeah, I find this most fascinating.
Well, it really is. And
Yeah.
so, Dr. Kim, I think we'll bring our discussion to a close. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
알까? 나는 미처 몰랐네. 나는 미처 몰랐네.